Today I'm talking about my favorite anime that I watched in recent times. I mean, when I say recent time, it's been over a year since I've rewatched these animes. So, these are the top three animes that I've been watching. The way I'm going to go about this video is I'm not going to be explaining the whole story. I'm just going to hopefully nudge you in the direction of you hopefully wanting to watch these animes. So if you're in a dry spell where you don't know what anime to watch on TV, these are the animes that I hope you can watch. So coming in at number 3 is this anime called Samurai Champloo. Samurai Champloo is basically this anime about three people. You have Mugen, Ju, Fu. Yeah, her name is Fu, and Jean. So you have these three people. They go on this elaborate journey to basically find Fu, supposed father figure kind of person. So this person is called the samurai who smells of sunflowers, and basically she's like this 15-year-old girl who has to travel from one part of the country to the other part. And because this is a time in feudal Japan, times weren't safe for young women. She needs bodyguards essentially. Basically, she used to work at this place as a waitress where the other two main characters, Mugen and Jean, come by and basically torch up the place. So she gets this idea of making the two people who basically caused arson to her previous place of employment. So she takes their help and basically hires them as bodyguards and goes through this journey of hers. So that's the whole premise of the show. The reason I want you to watch the show is a lot of really, first of all, the music is a banger. You probably heard the I Have No Enemies meme song, which basically comes from this anime. And there's the ending song of the anime is goated as well. What else? Yep, that's a whole package. So basically, along this journey, what happens is Mugen, this brash character, he's like cocky and overconfident. He ends up doing what cocky and overconfident people do best, keeps getting into trouble. But then on the other side, to sort of balance this out, you have Jean, who is like the stoic guy. And basically this dichotomy between these two characters plays out between how these two characters are designed and structured, where the way Mugen fights, he fights as this brashy character. He doesn't really have a structured way to approach fights, or any sword fights for that matter. He uses his feet, he uses basically anything at his disposal to get through with the fight. Doesn't really care about the rules or the honor system that Japanese people had back in feudal Japan when it came to sword fighting. Whereas the other side, Jean, who was this character where he's traditionally studied for sword fighting, so he sort of dissects the way his opponents operate and move, and sort of counteracts this countermeasures, and basically like gives out these countermeasures where, and he sort of learns as he fights. He sort of learns as he fights and basically uses the opponent's moves against themselves. It's very traditional, methodic, which is in stark contrast to the way Mugen fights, which is brash and just getting the job done basically. On the other side, you have the character of Fu, who is this person, and for a lot of episodes it's her getting into trouble and these two trying to get her out of trouble. So the premise of this show is basically they approach a city. Obviously, from where they start to where they're going to end up is this long journey, and they first approach a city. The city has a fundamental flaw in itself, so it's usually riddled with corruption, usually riddled with some sort of ill will, and basically these our main trio end up into a city, and they're broken, have no money, obviously, because they're just teenagers or adult teens, like they're in their early adult stage, so they don't have a lot of money, and they end up having to take odd jobs. So there's this one episode where these two sort of end up betting on beetle fights, which is really funny. So they end up getting themselves into odd jobs to earn a buck to basically fill their stomach. But on the way, because the city is fundamentally flawed in a certain way, what they do is they make sure they sort of somehow their actions lead them to this problem, and they end up solving the problem by either killing this corrupt guy or ridding the society of whatever ill will that they had. So that's the premise of it. I don't want to give away too much, because I think this anime is really beautiful, to the fact that these 26 episodes, the way they are, each episode has a story in and of itself, except for a few episodes which have continuum over 2 episodes. The max chain of continuum for any episode is basically 2. When it comes to like the final arc, I think the last 3 are a continuous episode, but apart from that, every episode is its own standalone episode, and it's pretty amazing anime, so go check it out. So coming in at number 2 is this other anime called Code Geass, and my god, a lot of people might have heard of it. When I first heard of this anime, I didn't really want to see it. Basically, I didn't like the art style. For me, the art style was too cartoony, and I basically didn't watch it for the same reason for a really long time. But I gave it a shot, watched the first episode, really captivated me, and I went on to watch the entire anime. So there are basically 2 seasons for this anime. I think each season has around 25 episodes. It's probably one of the best animes of their period. So the premise of the anime is we have Lelouch, who's like the main character of the anime. So there is this ongoing war between this giant empire called the Britannia and basically all the other sub-empires. So the goal of and all the other sub-empires. So Lelouch, he actually comes from a lineage of the conquerors, which are the Britannian Empire, and he sort of grows cold to them because of some things that happen between him and his family. So he sort of vows to take revenge against the Britannian Empire. His initial goal is to like join their ranks and like change the system from within, but then he comes across like a person who gives him a sort of power of the Geass, which is basically like this Sharingan kind of a thing on the eye. But his power, but like it depends on the person who, like different people have different powers, like the Sharingan. Like different people have different powers. So for Lelouch, his power is basically like if he commands someone to do something, they basically realign their mind to do said thing. But there are a lot of constraints which sort of gives depth to the character and like this power scheme. So one of the constraints is basically he cannot use the power on the same person more than once, so it's just once and that's it. The other constraint is he cannot order them to do something. The other constraint is so yeah, it's been a while since I watched this. I had to look it up. So yeah, one of the constraints is, like I said, he cannot use the same power on the person twice, like he can just use it once. The other constraint is he has to directly look them in the eye. So stuff like this is what brings depth to the power. The show is pretty good. It has a lot of battle scenes with mechs and stuff, which is obviously cool. Uh, there's a lot of depth to the story, and possibly one of the best endings in anime history. There is nothing that comes close to the ending of Code Geass. Like, everything is well rounded. Like, you don't have any questions left after the show, and if there are, it's like very minimal questions. It's nothing major, so all the questions get answered. There's every character has like a suitable ending, and it's pretty good. Go check it out. So at number one, we have Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's my favorite anime, hands down, one of the best animes ever made, in my opinion. So the premise of the anime is, the power scheme of the anime, first of all, is operating on alchemy, which is basically like converting one substance into another. But it has a constraint saying you cannot convert a coin into like gold brick. So the constraint is law of equivalent exchange. So basically it's like, if you have to gain something of value, something of equal value has to be sacrificed. So we have these two brothers who are the protagonists of the show, which are Edward and Alphonse. The show starts out basically as the mother of these two brothers passes away because of some ailment. I don't exactly remember how, but these two brothers try to get her back to life. But this sort of alchemy of getting a person back to life is sort of banned because of certain constraints, which you will see into the show. Long story short, they try to get her back to life, but Alphonse, the younger brother, ends up losing his body, and his soul gets transported into like a set of armor. And the older brother sort of loses his arm and his leg. And the whole show is them trying to search for something called a philosopher's stone, which sort of helps them negate this barrier boundary of equivalent exchange, or at least that's what they think it does at the beginning of the show. But later on they find out that there's much more depth to it. Coming to why I really like the show, it's basically one of those shows where everything from start to finish is perfect. So there are two versions of the show. One is just called Full Metal Alchemist, and the other is called Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Please watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Do not watch the first one. The first one it's just bad. Like, when I first saw Full Metal Alchemist, I saw the just Full Metal Alchemist, which is the older version. Didn't know that was not the actual, like, that was not the actual one that was derived from source material. And then halfway through the show, I ended up dropping it, thinking it was straight up bad. Then I picked up Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and from there I really enjoyed the show. I think the whole show is about 50 episodes, and each and every character sort of has their place in the show. You like, right off the back, I can think about like 8 side characters and like aiding characters to the main plot without even like having to think about it like deeply. So every character has their place. They keep, like, they're not just there for plot device. They're very much involved in the plot, and you sort of get derailed into thinking that the plot is one thing, but then it ends up being something entirely different and entirely amazing. There are slight misdirections in a good way, not in a bad way, so that's honestly amazing. Music is a banger as well. I really like the art style of the anime. It's something that, unlike Code Geass, which I didn't like initially, but this one, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, that's the art form that I really liked. So yeah, that's been about it. Thank you so much.